We're taking a look at what could be the biggest change in the history of college athletics. The NCAA and its 5 power conferences voted last night to make a deal paving the way for universities to pay athletes directly as soon as the fall of 2025. It's a deal that includes a settlement of nearly $2.8 billion to be paid out to former athletes who sued over the use of their name, their image, and their likeness, NIL. It also creates a system allowing Division I colleges and schools to budget up to $21 billion a year to directly pay their student athletes. Wow. Ross Dellenger, he's a senior reporter at Yahoo Sports, has more on the details of this. Ross, glad to have you here. Monumental change in the way amateur athletics used to work, because it sounds almost like professional athletics now. But give me some details here. Who's going to get paid? How much money might they get paid? Talk to me.
Yeah, we're moving closer and closer right into professional sports. It's almost like a semi-pro sport in college football and college athletics right now. So basically the NCAA and power conferences settled 3 consolidated lawsuits, and it's kind of broken up into 2 parts. You mentioned there the back pay to about 15,000 to 25,000 athletes from a 4-year span before the NCAA lifted its rules around name, image, and likeness. And so they'll get $2.8 billion spread over 10 years. It'll be uneven payments, and that'll come from the schools in the NCAA's national office. And you got the forward pay, right, which is probably more interesting to people. It's a new model, revolutionary model in college athletics for schools to directly share revenue with their athletes. And as you mentioned there, the number is fluctuating. It could change, but starting in August, probably of 2025, schools will be able to share upwards of in the low 20 millions with athletes every year.
I'd like to know how they decide, Ross, who gets how much. If you're a better athlete, if you're a starter, do you get more than somebody that's riding on the bench? I would assume yes. And does this apply to both men and women's sports?
And all sports, or only like basketball and basketball and football?
Good question.
Great questions, right? Yeah, and questions that athletic administrators, I think, are still trying to get their hands around here. Because in college athletics, you have this thing, of course, federal law called Title IX, right? Requiring equal opportunity be given to women and men. It's why inside of athletic departments, you have scholarships that are roughly the same for women and men. Does this have to be the same? It's a huge question those in college athletics are asking. Do you have to split these payments evenly? We don't really know. It's something that might see, big surprise, the inside of a courtroom at some point. But it will, to answer your other questions, it will be all athletes. It will be eligible to all athletes. And it will be at the school's discretion on how to distribute these payments while keeping in mind, of course, Title IX.
Yeah, I got skin in the game. 2 nephews playing college ball. Hey there.
Okay.
In Austin. But I have to ask, will this impact scholarships, and how so?
It will. It'll expand scholarships, actually. So what the NCAA is doing as part of the settlement is it is eliminating its scholarship caps. So each sport in the NCAA has a certain scholarship cap. It is getting rid of those, but it is adding roster limits. So it still will be a limitation on a roster, but either way, schools will have the ability not just to share revenue, right, with it, which is a separate issue, but they'll have the ability to expand on scholarships. And plenty of power conference school ADs I speak to plan on spending upwards of $5, $8, $10 million every year in additional scholarships as well. So this whole package, the expansion of scholarships in the revenue share, could cost schools upwards of $30 million annually for 10 years, $300 million a school. That's 70 Power 5 conference schools. That's about $15 to $18 billion.
My head is spinning with all those numbers.
Speaking of scholarship, I do wonder if anyone's going to be going to class at the end of the day. But let's put that aside for now. Competition between these big schools and these big conferences, what will happen with that?
Yeah, great question, right? The NCAA for a long time has been kind of marching to this part. NCAA as a whole is huge, right? It's got over 1,000 schools in the NCAA, over 350 in Division I. And for so long, I think the small conference schools have kind of held back the big valuable programs, right, from spending their money, right? It was kind of legislating competitive equity, they called it. Those days are over, right? So the big programs, the power conference programs, will continue to move away and separate themselves from everybody else in the NCAA. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. You know, people have different varying opinions on it, but either way, the most valuable programs, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, they'll be pulling away from a lot of these others based on the resources they have that they're now able to spend.
Yeah, I don't expect colleges to be too happy about sharing some of this big money. Ross Dellenger, thank you so much.